Topic for this screencast simply are the directions for the New Deal project. Keep in mind, this could be done in a group, this could be done by an individual, this could also be done in class during a simulation. So you're definitely going to have to figure out what the requirement is for class. So pretty much you're going to be working with teams of 5. You might have 4, possibly 6, depending on where the numbers stand. So the Depression, as you know, in the other screencast, talked about the problems during the Depression. Senior citizens, what do you do about Americans that have lost 8 million bank accounts, farmers, African Americans, and so on. So you might want to start thinking about what are some of the solutions that you personally would come up with to try to resolve that issue. For example, 8 million bank accounts were lost. So how do you go about getting people that deposited money into the banks that money back? And again, this project is designed to address a lot of those issues. So we know that Herbert Hoover is the president of the United States at the start of the Depression. He's mocked. Here we see some images of the Hooverville, Hoover blankets. And this leads to a victory by Roosevelt, the Democratic Party. And looking at this electoral college map, it just looks like a landslide victory. Usually when the economy starts to tank, support for alternatives go up. Keep that in mind. So here we see the economy and support for Hoover going down and the alternatives go up. If it works in the United States, it definitely is going to work for the Germans. And as the German economy goes down, support for alternatives are going to go up as well. We've already addressed the model of the business cycle. So looking at the chart here, we see all of the arrows are down, business production, which places up us here, and the economy continues to go down until you have some sort of solution. So the New Deal is Roosevelt's solution to try to get the economy moving upward once again. Looking back at the overall business cycle span of World War I forward, we see some of the drops. Anyway, so Hoover's the president of the United States, and he proposes a New Deal. And the New Deal is his solution for the Depression. So that would be a simple definition. New Deal, Roosevelt's solution to the economic crisis. And for the most part, he's going to create a series of programs. That's what these acronyms right here reference. So he's addressing a lot of the issues that I placed here in this particular slide. So let's go back to some of those images here. So the bank holiday, he actually closed all the banks. They made a determination about which banks were going to be able to be successful, which banks would be able to recuperate, and some of those banks were going to close down permanently. Some banks were going to, and the rest of the banks would be open. And those banks that opened would wind up getting money because remember, there were a substantial amount of Americans that had lost accounts. So 8 million bank accounts were eliminated, and Roosevelt's solution to that strategy was to create a bank holiday and actually get those banks money so those people could get some funds. There are a bunch of New Deal programs. These are the ones that I am primarily concerned with here, and these are the ones that this simulation is designed for you to focus on here. So we should have 5 people in a group. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I did say there might be 6, but I'm going to try to stick with 5 here. Somebody's going to play a worker from all of these particular areas here. And that is the way Roosevelt tries to get the economy moving upward. His New Deal plan was to figure out a way to get wages by hiring people through these various programs that are listed here. Those Americans would be able to spend, save, invest, and then that would increase business production. So that's pretty much the whole plan. Looking at these cards here, these are the various roles. So we have 5 people in a group. Someone will be a senior citizen, someone will be a PWA worker, someone will be an AAA, TBA, and WBA worker. So all of these programs were designed to get money in the hands of Americans. For example, elderly, senior citizens, they're not working. Maybe they're retired, but those individuals did work in America at some point. So if you get those folks money, they would spend, save, invest, and that would help business, and then business could hire, and then wages. Let's take the TBA. This program is designed to modernize rural parts of America. So the TBA was about trying to electrify rural parts of the United States. So they hired Americans to, run electricity and, build dams and things like that. And that would create a job. And so those Americans would now have a wage, and then they would do this, and that would increase business production. AAA was designed to target farmers. This one's a little more complicated. Pretty much what they did here was they hired farmers, or they paid farmers for their goods, and then the farmers were instructed to destroy the crops. You have to figure out why that was the case. I'm not going to reveal everything. And the WPA, these individuals were trying to make America beautiful by hiring artists and sculptors and things like that. So we have these various roles, and everybody's going to have to complete a page using this sheet here. So for the directions, I'm going to go back to the site. And on the site, you see this file here. So we see directions only, and now we see this section. So it's pretty simple. Page 1, this person is going to create a chart, 4 labeled boxes, and you're going to use data. Notice here it says to use your book. If we were in class, we would be using the textbook, and you'll be looking at these pages here. If we don't have that luxury, so what you can do is find data that tells the story of the Depression. You can do this by a simple Google search and try to create a chart that shows the story of what caused the Depression by using data. So that's what that one's about. Page 2, so that would be, one student's role right here, page 1. Page 2, create a web that includes 4 Americans and the hardships they encountered. So you're creating yet another chart on this particular page, page 2, and you focus on 4 American groups, African Americans, women, veterans, whatever, and you kind of tell me a little bit about what that group experienced. If you are page 3, you're creating a Venn diagram that compares Hitler to FDR. Kind of did that already. Keep in mind there are some right answers. Do not focus on, anti-Semitism, racial views. Focus on their solution to the economic crisis and how they get elected. Page 4, how did the New Deal try to solve the economic crisis? Use the information in your packet to support your argument. Write no more than 2 sentences. So this is just a quick summary. How is Roosevelt trying to create, a solution to the Depression? Page 5, create a WPA sign. So you want to figure out what the WPA is about, and then you want to figure out, provide an example, your own personal example. So somebody with artistic ability wants this. And then page 6, they answer these questions, A, B, C. So 5 and 6 are linked. You're completing the drawing, and then you're answering the 3 questions here on page 6. Page 7 is the one that uses this particular map here. And what you're trying to do, this is designed to mimic the TVA. You're trying to run electricity from this section to the light bulb, and then to this city, rural America here. And you have to follow the guidelines. So you're going to have to use a ruler and try to figure out the cost for that. Then you're page 8, you're answering the same questions. Page 8 and page 6 are the same. The only difference here is page 6, you're answering from the WPA perspective, and page 8, you're answering from the TVA perspective. Page 9, research and create an NIRA code that regulates the economy. So you want to look up the NIRA, and then you want to give me some sort of code. 10, create a political cartoon that explains court packing. And then page 11 usually is not assigned, and this is reserved for when we have more than 5 people in a group. So if we have 5 people in a group, each student should get a page, 2 pages, and that's what you are submitting. As you're working throughout the class, because this could be a class assignment, what you are expected to do is we'll be playing the New Deal simulation, which is very similar to the 20 simulation, but the difference here is we still need to figure out a way to get all of the, needs paid for. Otherwise, we're not going to survive. So let's go back to the PowerPoint here. I think for the remainder of this slideshow, it's simply just giving you some examples of what you have to do. So let's see. Here I looked at a couple of groups, African Americans, veterans. So I think this is page 2, looking at politicians and what their experience was like during the Depression. The Venn diagram comparing the two. These are actual political cartoons. Some TVA programs, and then this is the work of Jacob Lawrence. If you go back to the site, you will also see this file that has a list of New Deal programs. There's a whole bunch: CCC, TVA, the FSA. But again, we're only concerned with the ones that were listed in the directions. So those are the ones that we are concerned with for assessment purpose. And then I know I have some student samples down here somewhere. Where are my student samples? Here we go. So these are some samples from a prior year. So here we have some of the data. They compared the groups. Here we have the FDR, the program. And that's pretty much kind of where we're at. So I think that's enough. I'm going to have to probably remove these files. That way, you have less of an example there to work with. You got to figure out the information on your own. So use the internet, use whatever source, use any source from the class site. You also have this file here that gives you some pages. So you definitely want to use this as well. Talk about blacks during the Depression, farmers, Mexicans, some data, senior citizens. So, I would start with this particular file right here. And when you distribute the groups, the people in the group, the roles, then you kind of can use the sources.